I stared at the ceiling for 3 hours before I realized she wasn't coming back. It was 2:13 a.m. The kitchen light was still on, her wine glass still had that dumb lipstick mark on it, and the bedroom smelled like her vanilla shampoo because she'd left the bathroom door open on purpose. She always did that when she wanted me to miss her. She knew what she was doing. The note on the fridge just said, "Don't wait up. I need this." No name. No explanation. Just 6 words that gutted me like a fish. I'd said yes to something no sane husband would agree to. Not because I wanted to. Not because I supported it. But because I was too tired to keep begging her to love me back the way I loved her. So I told her, fine. One night. Just one. But you won't recognize me when it's over. She thought I was bluffing. She always thinks I'm bluffing. The truth is, I'm not even sure I wasn't bluffing. I don't know who I am anymore. When she said she wanted a reset, I thought she meant a vacation. Or a weekend apart. Or maybe, God forbid, just a break from our endless silent dinners and pretended orgasms. But no, she wanted another man. For one night. For clarity. What she didn't know was that I'd given her 2 options. One was freedom. The other was a trap. And now, I was just waiting to see which one she fell into. Because this wasn't about jealousy anymore. Or sex. Or even betrayal. It was about control. And for the first time in our entire marriage, I had it. When the clock hit 3:07 a.m., I finally stopped pretending I could sleep. The house felt wrong. Too clean. Too staged. Even the silence had an echo to it. You ever get that sense that your own walls are watching you? That's how it felt. Every room was a reminder of how carefully she'd prepared for this. Her perfume lingered in the air like she wanted me to inhale guilt instead of oxygen. She'd planned this night for weeks, maybe longer. I started noticing things days before. New perfume in the bathroom drawer, shaved legs on a Wednesday, a text she smiled at, and turned the phone face down. But I didn't say anything. I told myself I was paranoid, insecure, overreacting. That's what she used to call me. Too sensitive. She said it like it was a flaw I should apologize for. And I usually did. I poured myself a drink, even though I barely drink. Whiskey burns more than heartbreak, that's why I chose it. The glass clinked against the counter louder than it should have. That's when I noticed something. A small folded paper under her coffee mug. Same handwriting as the note on the fridge, same red ink. Only this one had my name on it. I opened it. You said one night. I'm taking it. Please don't call. She didn't sign it with her name. Just a tiny heart. A heart. Like she was signing a birthday card. I laughed. Loudly. Then quietly. Then not at all. But here's the thing. What she didn't know was that I'd already seen the messages. 2 nights earlier, I accidentally synced her phone to my laptop. She never turned off auto-sync. I didn't go looking. The messages just appeared. A man named Gray, I don't even know if that was his real name, was asking what hotel she preferred. And she said, somewhere quiet, somewhere he'd never look. Except she underestimated me. She didn't know I tracked the joint credit card she used for gas. She didn't know I still had access to her phone locator app from when we used to share road trips. And she definitely didn't know that when she said, I need this night, I already decided I'd give it to her, but on my terms. So I grabbed my keys, put on the first jacket I found, and walked out into the kind of cold that bites through skin and straight into memory. The car engine sounded like betrayal too. It coughed before starting, almost warning me to turn back. But I didn't. The GPS showed her at the Riverside Inn. Not fancy, but secluded. Of course. She'd always been predictable in her rebellion. Cheap, simple, and impulsive. I sat outside that inn for 20 minutes, headlights off, hands shaking on the steering wheel. I wasn't sure what I was waiting for. Maybe her to come out. Maybe for someone to tell me I was wrong. But I wasn't wrong. Not this time. And as I watched the curtains move in one of the rooms upstairs, my stomach twisted so violently I thought I'd be sick. I couldn't see her, but I knew she was in there. Living a version of herself she'd convinced me didn't exist. I could have gone inside. I could have banged on the door, dragged her out, made a scene. But I didn't. Because that's what she expected. Instead, I pulled out my phone, scrolled to her contact, and pressed record. My voice was calm, almost eerily calm when I said, Raylan, this is Monroe. You made your choice tonight. I'm making mine tomorrow. I hit send, and then I drove away without looking back, straight toward the plan I swore I'd never use. What she didn't know was that the second option, the one she never asked about, had already started. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I drove aimlessly until the sky started bleeding orange, then parked outside a 24-hour diner just to stare at the neon sign flickering above the window like it couldn't decide if it wanted to stay alive. Funny, I knew the feeling. I didn't go inside. I wasn't hungry. I couldn't even remember the last time I felt hunger. Real hunger. Not just the mechanical need to eat, but the kind of hunger that makes your hands shake. The kind I used to have when Raylan would fall asleep on my chest, and I'd imagine growing old with her. Back when she was still mine. Back when I still recognized the shape of her love. But now all I felt was a quiet, eerie clarity. And with that clarity came a checklist. The plan had always been theoretical. Something I built in my head during those nights. She came home late and swore she just lost track of time. Something I kept on a mental shelf labeled, in case she ever really does it. I didn't expect to use it. I didn't want to. But the fact that it existed, that was my survival instinct talking. And now it was time to activate it. The first thing I did was call my landlord. We lived in Raylan's childhood home, but the lease was still under my name since I handled all the paperwork. I told him I'd be vacating in 3 weeks. Paid the final month up front. He sounded confused, said Raylan hadn't mentioned anything. I told him she wouldn't. The second thing I did was transfer my savings to a new account. She'd always had access to the joint one. I left $200 in it, just enough for her to think nothing had changed, until it did. The third thing was the hardest. I called her sister Marla. Now, Marla and I were never close. We tolerated each other like people stuck in an elevator. But she wasn't blind. She'd seen the way Raylan talked over me, dismissed me, rolled her eyes when I spoke. I don't think she liked me, but I knew she saw me. I asked her for a favor. Just one. I asked her to meet me at a coffee shop 2 towns over. I told her I needed someone to witness something. She said she'd be there in an hour. When we met, I didn't waste time. I handed her an envelope. Photos, screenshots, bank statements. Not to blackmail. Not to manipulate. Just to make sure someone else in her orbit knew the truth. So when Raylan inevitably spun her story, when she'd cry and call me controlling, call me a coward, someone would have already seen the evidence. Marla flipped through the envelope without saying much. When she finished, she looked up at me, and for the first time in all the years I'd known her, she actually looked sympathetic. "You sure you want to go through with this?" she asked. I nodded. I already did. She didn't ask any more questions. Just said, "Good luck, Monroe." I went home one last time that afternoon. The house was still empty. Her perfume had faded. Her wine glass was gone. No note this time. Just the quiet creak of floorboards that suddenly didn't feel like mine. I walked into the bedroom, opened my closet, and packed the essentials. Nothing sentimental. No framed photos. No wedding album. Just clothes, documents, and a USB drive with every piece of proof I might need later. At the very bottom of the drawer, I found something I hadn't expected, an old bracelet I'd given her in our second year together. She said it was too clunky and never wore it. But here it was, hidden like a guilty secret. I held it in my hand for a moment, then left it on her pillow. No note. No message. Just a symbol. I locked the front door behind me, left the keys in the mailbox, and walked away with my bag over my shoulder and the cold biting at my neck. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew where I wasn't staying. She thought I'd wait. She thought I'd forgive. But this time, I was the one who disappeared, and I wasn't done yet. Because the last step in the plan, the part she'd never see coming, was still to come. 2 days passed. 46 hours, to be exact. 46 hours of total silence. No calls. No texts. No knock on the door. Raylan hadn't even checked the joint calendar, which I purposely left updated so she'd see the canceled lease note. And that said more than any voicemail ever could. She wasn't looking for me. She wasn't regretting it. If anything, she was probably still wrapped in motel sheets, sipping discount wine, thinking she was the bold, liberated woman the world had failed to appreciate. But here's what she didn't know. I wasn't interested in catching her in the act. That would have been too easy. She wanted drama. She wanted confrontation. She wanted an emotional explosion that she could later blame on my insecurities or masculine fragility. No, I wanted a mirror. I wanted her to see herself, unfiltered, exposed, without the illusions she clung to so tightly. And I had just the way to do it. Because 5 months ago, long before the motel, long before her just one night fantasy, I began documenting everything. Every passive-aggressive jab. Every night she stayed out without explanation. Every time she said, "You're just too emotional, Monroe." It's exhausting. I recorded voice memos, captured screenshots, took pictures of the laundry she hid when she thought I wouldn't notice, the kind of clothes she never wore for me. I even saved clips of her TikToks she didn't think I saw, the ones where she joked about being everyone's fantasy but her husband's burden. And then I started writing. Not for revenge, not even for justice, but to survive. The document was titled Exhibit A: How to Destroy a Marriage Without Touching Another Person. 73 pages. Every entry timestamped. Every emotion raw and unedited. I never planned to publish it. But something changed after that night. When I sat in the car outside the Riverside Inn, watching that room light flicker off like a dying signal flare, something in me shifted. So I sent the document to a small private support group I joined anonymously months earlier. A place for men going through quiet breakdowns in the shadows of confident, unapologetic spouses. And I told them, if this helps even one of you feel less crazy, take it. What I didn't expect was how fast it spread. Within 24 hours, one of the group members, a guy named Declan, messaged me directly. He said, "Monroe, I think I know who your wife is. Or at least, I've seen her online." At first, I thought he was mistaken. But then he sent me a video link. Not explicit, but close. Raylan, in a low-lit room, talking into the camera like it was her best friend. I think every woman should try sleeping with someone new. At least once after marriage. It resets the soul. And if your man can't handle it, maybe he's not your man anymore. The background was unmistakable. The same headboard from the Riverside Inn. She wasn't just exploring. She was teaching, broadcasting, proud of it. And suddenly, the plan changed. I no longer wanted to disappear quietly. I wanted the full truth out. Not to ruin her, but to stop her from doing this to someone else. So I contacted someone I never thought I'd speak to again, her old best friend, Ren. They hadn't talked in years. Raylan said Ren was toxic, but I remembered how close they used to be. I remembered how safe Ren made her feel. And I also remembered how Ren had warned me, years ago, she loves the spotlight more than she'll ever love a steady heart. I messaged Ren, told her I had something she needed to see. She replied within 3 minutes. Where and when? That night, we met at a diner 2 towns south. Different diner. This one didn't have flickering signs. Just cold coffee, sticky menus, and the kind of honesty that only happens when the people across the booth are done pretending. I showed her the footage, the photos, the document. Ren didn't say a word for a long time. Then finally, she's going to come back, you know? And when she does, she'll rewrite the story before you can speak a word. I nodded. That's why I need someone who remembers who she used to be, before she became this. Ren sipped her coffee. I remember. And that's when the real plan began. The one Raylan would never see coming. The one that didn't just expose her. It unraveled the version of herself she'd spent years carefully curating. And when she finally walked back through that door, thinking I'd be broken, begging, destroyed, what she found instead was the part of me I never let her meet. She came back on a Thursday morning, unannounced. No warning. Just the sound of keys rattling in the front door and the creak of the hinges like the house itself was hesitant to let her in. I was sitting in the living room when it happened, surrounded by boxes, some full, some already taped shut. The only thing left untouched was the couch she always claimed was too soft, the one she refused to sit on unless guests were over. Now, it was her welcome mat. She walked in like nothing had happened. Same boots. Same oversized hoodie she used to steal from me. Her hair was pulled back into a loose ponytail, and she smelled faintly like coconut shampoo and hotel detergent. The kind of scent you don't forget once you've spent 2 sleepless nights imagining it on someone else's pillow. She froze when she saw me. Then she smiled. "Wow," she said. "Didn't expect you to be here." Her voice was airy, like she was trying out for some indie rom-com. I didn't respond. I just looked at her. She stepped further inside and looked around at the boxes. "You packing? Is this supposed to be a message?" I stood up slowly. My hands were calm. My voice even calmer. "No message. Just a decision. Mine this time." She tilted her head. "Okay, so we're doing the dramatic exit now? After you said I could have one night?" There it was. That twist. That guilt grenade she loved to throw mid-conversation. The kind meant to catch you with the pin already pulled, so the only option is to blow yourself up. But not today. I looked her straight in the eye. I gave you one night. I didn't say there wouldn't be consequences. She laughed. Actually laughed. Like a girl who thought the joke was on me. You're being petty, Mon. You always were a little fragile when things didn't revolve around you. That one stung, but it didn't show. Instead, I pulled out the envelope from the coffee table, the same one I'd given to her sister, the one with timestamps, screenshots, receipts, and that perfectly framed still from her little hotel monologue. I held it out. This is yours. She narrowed her eyes but took it, flipped it open. Her smile faded with every page. She skimmed fast at first, then slowed, then stopped altogether. I don't even remember saying half of this, she whispered. I didn't respond. She looked up at me, and for the first time in years, there was fear behind those eyes. Not fear of violence, not fear of rage, just the chilling realization that the man she thought was weak, the man she manipulated, mocked, dismissed, had been watching, documenting, preparing. Her voice cracked. What are you planning to do with this? I haven't decided yet, I said. That depends on how honest you're willing to be. She sat down, not because she was tired, but because her legs suddenly didn't believe they could hold her weight. You've been keeping records of me? You kept receipts for lingerie I never saw you wear. I just took notes. She didn't speak for a long time after that, just sat there, thumbing through the evidence of her own unraveling. Finally, she looked up. So this is what it comes down to? A stack of paper and a grudge? No, I said. It comes down to the fact that you thought I wouldn't notice. That you thought you could disappear for a night and come back to the same version of me. I sat across from her. Not angry, not smug, just done. You wanted freedom. You got it. But now you'll get the cost, too. Because the version of me you left behind? He's not home anymore. She stood up abruptly, her voice louder now, desperate. You can't just flip it on me, Monroe. You said yes. You agreed. And you never once asked why I said yes. I replied. Her mouth opened, closed. Nothing came out. So I stood, walked to the hallway closet, grabbed the second envelope, the one with the lease termination form, the bank account closure notice, and the pre-filed divorce petition. I handed it to her. This is how it ends. No yelling, no begging, just the truth. On paper. She didn't take it. She just stared at it, frozen like someone who'd stepped on a mine and was praying she misheard the click. Take it, I said. She did. And then she left. No goodbye, no slam of the door. Just the soft click of a woman realizing she'd played the wrong game with the wrong man. I didn't watch her drive away. I just sat back down and took a breath that felt like it belonged to someone new. But it wasn't over yet. Because what she left behind, physically, emotionally, publicly, was still waiting to implode. And in the next chapter, it would. It was strange how quiet life became after she left. Not peaceful, quiet. There's a difference. Peace is earned. Quiet is just what's left when the chaos steps outside to light a cigarette. You hear the fridge hum louder, the floors creak sharper, and your thoughts go feral because there's no one left to talk you down. That first night without her, I found myself sitting on the floor of our now empty bedroom, staring at the dent in the wall from where her suitcase once slammed into it during a fight we never resolved. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was still there. Just like everything else she tried to pretend didn't happen. I didn't reach out. I didn't check if she made it to her sister's. I didn't ask for keys back or closure or one last talk. That version of me, the pleaser, the fixer, the soft landing, was 6 feet under, and I didn't even send flowers. What I did do, however, was wait. Because the real storm was never in my living room. It was out there, in the curated world she'd built, where everything smelled like aesthetic candles and sounded like filtered confidence. Raylan had always been good at controlling the narrative. She could sell venom as vitamins if you gave her a ring light and 15 seconds of uninterrupted screen time. But I had something she didn't expect. People who were tired of playing along. It started with a post. Nothing dramatic. Nothing vindictive. Just a short, emotionless thread in the same private support forum I'd shared my document with. She told me she wanted one night with another man. I said yes. What followed wasn't about betrayal. It was about exposure. I attached no photos, no names, no voice clips, just selected paragraphs from my notes. Cold facts, neutral tone, dates, events, verifiable. I didn't even link her video. I didn't need to. Because Declan, the same guy from earlier, did it for me in the comments. That clip of her talking about post-marital soul resetting? It had already made the rounds on niche corners of the internet. Nothing viral yet. But all it takes is the right person sharing it in the right group chat, and your secret becomes everyone's entertainment. By the end of the day, someone had reposted the thread on a broader forum. And from there, it spiraled. Not because I fed it, but because she did. People recognized her voice, her face, her signature smirk when she leaned into the camera to say things like, "Marriage is just a contract. Curiosity is spiritual." Ren messaged me that night. She's starting to panic. She called me 3 times in a row. I didn't answer. I didn't tell her to ignore Raylan. I didn't have to. Because when you spend your life twisting the truth, the last thing you want is a mirror. And Ren had become one. Then came the apology tour. Raylan tried to reclaim the narrative fast. She posted a story, filtered, perfectly lit, talking about privacy and consent and how people twist innocent questions into betrayal. She painted herself as a victim of manipulation. Gaslighting, she said. Emotional coercion. An unnamed ex-husband with control issues. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because one of her old bartending co-workers, someone I barely remembered, left a quiet comment under her video. "Didn't you call him the wallpaper at happy hour last year? Weird how your story keeps changing." It only took a few like-minded voices after that to crack the whole thing wide open. The internet didn't cancel her. It didn't explode. It just started to question. Her followers thinned. Brands distanced. And the people who once echoed her quotes and comments started deleting them. One by one. Quietly. Just like she left me. But none of that felt like victory. I wasn't watching with popcorn and a grin. I wasn't high-fiving karma. I was sitting in an empty kitchen, wondering how long it would take to stop flinching every time my phone buzzed. She texted me a week later. I stared at the message for almost 10 minutes before opening it. "Congratulations. You humiliated me. I hope you feel powerful now." I stared at those words, let them soak in, then locked my screen and deleted the thread. No reply. No more energy wasted on someone who had always mistaken silence for weakness. Power didn't come from exposing her. It came from finally understanding that I didn't owe her protection anymore. Not her lies. Not her image. Not her legacy. She lit the match. All I did was stop putting out the fire. And that's when the final phase of the plan took shape. Not about her anymore, but about me. Because destruction's not the end. Reconstruction is next. And I already knew where to begin. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for the noise to die down. Raylan stopped posting, her followers stopped asking questions, and the clips faded into the algorithmic abyss where old scandals go to rot. For once, my name wasn't echoing inside someone else's accusation. The notifications stopped. The tension in my chest started to ease. I went for walks without checking over my shoulder. I slept more than 3 hours a night. I even laughed, really laughed, at a podcast while cleaning dishes, and I remember freezing in the moment, surprised at the sound of it. It felt foreign. Laughter hadn't lived here in a long time. I'd moved into a small rental, bare walls, mismatched furniture, but it was mine. Every drawer opened easily. Every room had space. There were no scented candles, no sharp-tongued silence waiting to snap, no wine glasses stained with someone else's lipstick. Just the smell of dust, coffee, and freedom. I started writing again. Not about her. About things that had nothing to do with betrayal or breakdowns. Fiction. Ideas. I even applied to a job 2 states away. A fresh start was possible, and for the first time in years, I believed I deserved one. And then she knocked. Literally. I came home from the grocery store, 2 bags in each hand, and there she was, sitting on the steps of my tiny porch, wearing sunglasses and a hoodie like she was trying to disappear into the scenery. Her car was parked down the street. Out of view. She planned this. Of course she did. For a moment, I stood there, not moving. She looked up, took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were puffy. She looked tired. Not glamorously tired like she used to post about, but hollow, raw, human in a way I hadn't seen since year 1. I didn't say anything. Just walked past her, unlocked the door, and left it open behind me. She followed. Inside, she didn't sit. She stood near the wall like a guest in someone else's story. "I know I shouldn't be here," she said. I didn't argue. I've been thinking. Still, I said nothing. Let her fill the silence. She always hated that. "I made everything worse," she continued. "I thought I was being honest. Empowered. But I was just selfish. I hurt you. I hurt myself. And I lost everything that mattered while pretending I didn't care. Her voice cracked. She wasn't performing this time. No audience. No filters. Just a person, finally unraveling at the seams. I thought I was above consequences, she said quietly. Turns out I'm just really good at losing good things. I set the bags down, crossed my arms. I wasn't angry. I wasn't smug. I was tired. Tired in that deep, soul-weary way that doesn't sleep off. Why now? I finally asked. She swallowed, looked at the floor. I thought you'd chase me. I waited for you to show up at the hotel, or blow up my phone, or beg me to stay. And when you didn't, I realized I was alone. Like really alone. I nodded. That's what you wanted. I thought it was. Silence stretched between us again. She finally looked up. Her eyes were glassy, but she wasn't crying. Not yet. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not even asking for a second chance. I needed you to know that I see it now. All of it. I ruined something real. And no one clapped for me like I thought they would. No one rescued me from the hole I dug. She took a deep breath. I'm sorry, Monroe. For everything. It landed softly. Too softly. Like dropping a single feather on a battlefield. I didn't say thank you. I didn't say I forgive you. I just stood there, feeling the weight of words that were years too late. She walked to the door, hand on the knob, then turned. I won't bother you again. I just needed to face it, to see if I could say it out loud without lying to myself. I nodded. Not coldly, not warmly, just enough. She stepped outside, and I should have felt closure. I should have felt something cinematic. But all I felt was stillness. Then my phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. You don't know me, but I know what she did to you. She did it to me, too. Years ago. Thought you'd want to know. My stomach dropped, because I had no idea there was another version of this story. One that hadn't been told. One that might change everything I thought I knew about who she was, and who I had become trying to survive her. And suddenly, I realized, this wasn't the ending. It was only the beginning of a story I never agreed to be part of. I stared at the message on my phone for a long time. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I just sat there, calm, like a man watching the end credits roll on a movie he didn't realize he'd finished surviving. You don't know me, but I know what she did to you. She did it to me, too. Years ago. Thought you'd want to know. At first, I wasn't going to respond. What good would it do to peel back another layer of a woman who had already become a ghost in my life? But something in me, the part that no longer flinched, needed to see it through. So I texted back. Tell me what happened. The man's name was Elliot. Turns out, he had been engaged to Raylan years before me. Briefly, she never mentioned him. Never even hinted at that chapter. They had broken up under similar circumstances. Her chasing freedom, vanishing without answers. Telling him he was too small for the life she wanted to live. He said he found my thread online by accident. It was like reading my own life, he told me. We talked for 2 hours. Not in bitterness, not in blame, but in a strange, mutual understanding that only comes from surviving the same storm in different lifeboats. And when we ended the conversation, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. Not because I had confirmation of her patterns, but because I finally knew, without a shred of doubt, that none of this had ever been about me not being enough. She just never knew how to hold something real. That night, I packed a bag, not out of panic, but because for the first time in years, I was ready to go somewhere without running from anything. I booked a weekend trip. Nothing fancy. A lakeside cabin with spotty Wi-Fi and too many squirrels. I took a journal, a battered paperback I'd never finished, and a jacket that finally fit me again. There, in the quiet, I let the grief breathe. Not just grief for her, but for the version of myself I'd buried trying to keep us alive. I let go of the resentment, the obsession with being understood, the exhaustion of trying to win love that should have never had conditions. And I started over. Weeks passed, then months. The seasons turned. I didn't hear from Raylan again, not directly. Ren told me she'd moved in with her mother temporarily, was thinking of leaving social media, said she wanted to reconnect with real life. I didn't judge. I didn't root against her. I just hoped she meant it. Not for me. For herself. As for me, I got the job in Oregon. Moved into a town where no one knew my name and no one needed to. I made friends. I went to community game nights. I started volunteering at a local high school helping kids with digital literacy. I smiled without forcing it. And one morning, while I was browsing a little bookstore with creaky floors and too many ladders, A woman tapped my shoulder. "You dropped this," she said, handing me my receipt. Our eyes met. And just like that, no fireworks, no slow-motion montage, I knew I wasn't afraid of starting again. We chatted. She laughed at one of my dry jokes. I asked about the book in her hand. She asked if I wanted to grab coffee. I said yes. Not because I was healed completely. Not because I was looking to fill a void. But because I'd finally stopped bleeding. And now, I was ready to grow. Final thought. She asked for one night with another man. She thought it would liberate her. Instead, it liberated me. Not with revenge. Not with exposure. But with the quiet, resilient decision to reclaim my life, piece by piece, and build something stronger. I wasn't destroyed. I was rebuilt. And this time, I like who I've become.